call the meeting to order this evening. It is November 21st at 6:35. Opening statement?
Let the minutes reflect that adequate notice of the holding of this regular meeting of the Howell Township Council was provided for in the following manner: by the posting of a copy of said notice upon the bulletin board in the Township Municipal Building on October 18, 2017, by the faxing of a copy of said notice to the Tri-Town News, Asbury Park Press, and Star Ledger for information and publication on October 18, 2017, by the filing of a copy of said form of notice in the Township Clerk's office on October 18, 2017. The public will be allowed to attend and will be allowed to participate pursuant to the Open Public Meetings Law. The public is reminded that civility and decorum will be maintained during the meeting. Any contracts awarded at this meeting or between now and the next meeting will be required to comply with the requirements of Public Law 1975, Chapter 127. In accordance with the Fire Prevention Code, be advised that this facility is designed with emergency exits for your safety. The locations are as follows. Upon exiting the meeting room, they are to your left and to your right. Furthermore, smoking is not permitted in the municipal building. Please take note that this meeting is being videotaped for possible future broadcast on Howell Television. Roll call, Mrs. O'Donnell.
Here.
Mrs. Smith.
Present.
Mr. Walsh.
He'll be here soon.
Mr. Nicastro.
He'll be here soon.
He'll be in attendance as well?
I believe so.
Okay.
I don't think so.
Right, I believe he did send an email,
Oh, okay.
about an excused
Forgive me.
absence. Okay. Mayor Berger?
Present. Are there any reasons to go into executive session this evening?
Yes, there is, for contract negotiations.
And also, I'll add potential litigation to that. Mayor, shall I read the resolution?
Please.
Whereas let me make sure I have the right one. Whereas the governing body of the Township of Howell is authorized pursuant to NJSA 10:4-12 to exclude the public from that portion of this meeting for purposes of discussing specific matters as permitted by NJSA 10:4-12. Whereas the governing body of the Township of Howell intends to discuss certain matters which are deemed confidential pursuant to NJSA 10:4-12. Whereas at this time, the governing body of the Township of Howell cannot determine the time when a discussion to be held in executive session will be made public, but will disclose the minutes of executive session when the need for confidentiality no longer exists. Now therefore be it resolved by the governing body of the Township of Howell that this meeting shall be adjourned to an executive session, and the public will be excluded in order that the governing body of the Township of Howell may discuss the items previously listed, and upon reconvening this public meeting, the presiding officer will announce, if possible, the time when and the circumstance under which a discussion conducted in executive session will be disclosed to the public.
Motion to go into executive session.
Second.
Roll call, Mrs. O'Donnell.
Yes.
Mrs. Smith.
Yes.
Mayor Berger.
Yes. I'd like to call this meeting to order at 7:30, November 22nd. At this time, I would like for everyone to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance with the Boy Scouts. Afterwards, if we may, I would like a moment of silence for all of our Americans overseas in uniform. And I also want to put on record that last night I was at an event for Maggie Wright. She's an 11-year-old girl who has Burkitt's lymphoma. And there was a wonderful event for her. And I just want to say that when we're giving thanks, let's all just keep her in our memory and our thoughts so that we can pray for her as well. If we all stand.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, Mayor and Town Committee. Before I bring the Cub Scouts out of Pack 258 of Howell Township, I would like to take this time to thank the Mayor and the Howell Township Committee, men and women, for allowing us to present colors and complete the opening ceremony. This is the third year that we have done this. The Cub Scouts look forward to this event every year, and it helps the Weeblos and the Arrow Light complete their Community Achievement Badge.
just my children and my wife. Thank my lucky stars to be living here today. 'Cause the flag still stands for freedom, and they can't take that away. And I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the men who died, who gave that right to me. And I gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today. 'Cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA.
Cub Scouts, forward, march!
From the lakes of Minnesota to the hills of Tennessee, across the plains of Texas, from sea to shining sea, from Detroit down to Houston and New York to LA. There's pride in every American heart, and it's time we stand and say that I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the men who died, who gave that right to me. And I gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today. 'Cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA.
Scott, you want you all to come up?
Come on, fellas.
All the way across, just come across. There you go. We're doing it a little different this year, right?
I never did this.
Right up here. Right up here, okay. We blew it right behind.
Yay, we run this office.
All right.
So now the
Shuffle
flag's
over.
behind you guys.
You have to turn
Cub
around.
Scouts. And salute. Our light. Present colors.
Indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Scouts, signs up.
On my honor, I will do my best to do my duty to God and my country,
And to obey the Scout law.
to help other people at all times, to keep myself physically strong, mentally awake, and morally straight.
Scout is. Signs down. Scouts, bow your head. Ladies and gentlemen, if you could please bow your head. Dear Heavenly Father, we ask that you watch over and guide our leaders in Cub Scouts and in our community leaders. Help them make the best decisions. We ask that you be with all the ladies and gentlemen that are here with us today. Father, we ask that you watch over and protect the men and women of our armed forces and be with their families through these holidays. We ask this in your name. Amen.
Amen.
Again,
Thank
you
you.
for having us.
Thank you for joining us this evening. You guys look amazing. You're all so decked out in your uniforms. Very
Very
impressive. Thank you. Very
Thank
impressive.
you.
Thank you for joining us. Thank you. I would entertain a motion for the minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, Mrs. O'Donnell?
Absent.
Mrs. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mayor Berger?
Yes. Do we have any reports from the officials this evening? Any discussion?
I have a report to give, Mayor.
Please.
Additions that have been placed on the agenda from the preliminary to the final agenda include Resolution 9A35, authorize relief from road opening moratorium at 14 Wilson Drive for the purpose of retiring a natural gas service line by New Jersey Natural Gas. Resolution 9A36, authorize award of contract to the Monmouth Conservation Foundation to assist the township in its efforts to preserve open space and farmland. Removed from the agenda is Resolution 983. That is an authorized place-to-place transfer, expansion of license for However Inc., trading as Spirits Unlimited, 4071 Route 9 North. The removal of this resolution is due to an objection that was placed in the office yesterday. At this point, a hearing would need to be set for this matter, and I would suggest perhaps the next meeting, December 19th, to allow enough time. And we'll have it, it's a suggestion to have it at 5:30 PM prior to the start of our meeting. I'll do a special meeting notice to have such a hearing.
Do you need a motion for that?
No, if there's no objection, I'm just going to advertise as such.
I have no objection.
I had a question on 9A35. Is that the one we're being removed for, no, that's the one being added because of the road opening?
That's what my description says, for the purpose of retiring a natural gas service line by New Jersey Natural Gas. Is that explanatory, or do you want Mr.
No.
Herman to give you something further?
I just want to know, did we notify them or beforehand? Was it new construction?
This is a very touchy subject. I've had numerous go-rounds with the gas company. They have let's say, a policy in place when there's an abandoned property for longer than 2 years. They have an agreement with the BPU that they will remove the gas service. back in the early 90s, there was an explosion from, I think it was in Aberdeen, where there was an abandoned house and a contractor went in and started working, not realizing or just not paying attention that there was still a gas service involved. So even though we just paved the road, they're stating that the BPU is forcing their hand and requiring them to open the street, cut off the gas service at the street, and therefore not allow them any more gas service until someone buys the house and starts over.
So it have to be reopened again when somebody buys the house. There's no other way the gas could be shut off? I mean, I think
Not
most
according
of
to
it-
the gas company. They won't shut them off at the curb, like I've requested multiple times. And unfortunately, this is one of probably 15 of these that have come to me in the last 2 weeks. I did respectfully request that the gas company look into this and make sure that, we're not just getting taken for a ride here. Because to me, it seems like they just close them and open them and close them and open them. But they did send me some documentation that they have stating they have to cut them off after 2 years of abandonment.
I have nothing against it, they have to cut them off. That doesn't bother me. But can't it be cut off at the house? Why did I have to open up a brand-new paved street?
That's where we had the arguments myself.
Well,
They-
I'm not into arguing about it. I mean, do I have to vote to approve for them to rip up a brand-new paved street?
Yes, that's what they're asking for.
All right, so I have to vote for it, I don't have to?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, that's one that we can get Joe Clark involved on with the attorney level. There seems to be a lot of attorneys involved in this one already.
Yeah, a lot of attorneys seem to get involved in a lot of things in New Jersey, and it costs the taxpayers a lot of money. Okay? The gas can be cut off another way other than having to rip up the street. Is that correct, or am I wrong?
Yes and no. Yes, it can be
Okay.
cut off. No, it doesn't meet their rules.
No, it doesn't meet their rules. So we're supposed to cost the taxpayers hundreds of thousands of dollars in repairs. Because you said you just have 15 in the last couple of weeks. Did I mishear you?
No, you didn't. The repair, though, they're responsible for the repairs. And in years past, those repairs were very haphazardly done. I've now totally changed that, and we have staff that actually go out and inspect them while they're being done, and also make them do infrared repairs, which is a better way to repair it in the long run. That's our only real option, is to make sure they're doing the repairs the right way.
Well, one of the reasons why we put this in place years ago, so that somebody didn't come in and rip up a brand-new multi-$100,000 paved street.
Correct.
Okay? And then we also put into place so that a homeowner didn't buy a piece of land, get all their approvals, build a house, and get told, oh, by the way, you can't hook up to the electric or the gas after they'd already built the house. So we tell the homeowner before they build, correct?
Correct.
All
That
right.
hasn't always happened, though, but we've gotten a lot better at that
Well,
internally.
we should be 100% on that.
Yeah.
It's a pretty simple thing to tell somebody you have a vacant piece of land, you're gonna build a house. The road was just paved, by the way, and you can't rip it up. Okay, so our taxpayers can't, but the gas company can at any time. Or they cannot. Do we have jurisdiction over that? Because I think people's gas have been turned off at their home. Am I mistaken?
The gas is turned off at the street in accordance with New Jersey Natural Gas's rule,
Okay.
not anybody else. Yes, you can shut it off at the meter. There's no doubt about that, but that's not what they're worried about. They're worried about it being torn up in the grass, let's say in the front yard, with a backhoe when they start demo work. So they say they have to cut it off at the street. I've argued with them to cut it off at the curb, at the service box, but they unequivocally refuse to do so.
Okay, so it could be cut off at the curb, it could be cut off at the house, but they want us to give them permission to rip up brand-new paved streets to cut it off at the street.
So if that's the case, what I would recommend then is that we deny the request for relief from the moratorium, and I'll tell the gas company you have to figure out a better way to do it.
My vote's gonna be no, I want a separate vote on this.
Which one?
I mean, we went through this for years, and it was more to protect when the taxpayers of Howell are spending millions of dollars to repave roads so they aren't ripped up 6, 9 months, a year later, and they weren't recorded correctly.
You don't have an argument from us.
So,
Bless you.
Thank you.
Yeah, we could pull it out tonight, but the other option or the other possibility may be the BPU. There may be state regs that are involved. I mean, is that a possibility?
There's
Mr. Herman?
there's an agreement between the gas company and the BPU. It's not
Okay.
it's not a state regulation, and
Okay.
that's
Okay.
where the problem
So
lies.
we can easily pull it tonight.
it is no state regulation. They would have stopped us from putting it in place years ago. Is that a pretty correct assumption also?
Yes.
Okey-doke.
All right. So it's just their wish. I'm not for them ripping up brand-new roads in Howell Township.
No one is.
When there's other options,
We agree.
Exactly.
okay? So I would like a separate vote on that.
Okay, so noted. Mayor, I have additional items that have been removed from the agenda. They are Resolution 9824, the ratification of the PBA contract that will be placed on the next December council meeting agenda. The motions 9B2 and 3, the 2008 renewals for the secondhand dealer licenses, they too have been pulled but will be put on for the December council agenda. And that's all I have.
That's all.
Thank you. I think for the record, we'd like to welcome Brian Geegan as our township manager and Joe Clark as our township attorney. So welcome.
Thank you.
Howdy.
Is there any other discussion?
Well, I have something I find it necessary to bring up. It's been brought to my attention, because I don't pay attention to such things normally, that I've been the subject of social media recently. There are several blogs, etc., out there claiming that I demand to have snow fences installed on my property. Silly as that is to we people who know about snow fences, apparently some people don't know about snow fences. I just like to say in the 54 years that we have been on Vanderveer Road, we have never found the need for snow fences on our property. It would do no one any good. And I'll explain why. Because apparently some people need to know the truth. In the first place, I never have, and nobody can ever accuse me of asking for special favors for myself. I have been adamant, though, about installing and the use of snow fences for their necessity in open spaces. Snow fences are designed to protect the roadways from blowing snow. They do not aid the property owner on which they're installed. As a matter of fact, they're a donation to the public, the use of that property, because that property is generally destroyed by the installation of the snow fences, by the retaining mounds of snow and being wet, and making it difficult when spring comes for the farmer. But they save lives, they save property. Very simply, where there are open spaces, and on the westerly side, because that's the direction the wind comes from, if you don't know that yet, in general, as a rule anyway, that's the predominant wind. On the west side of roads with open spaces, the snow fences are installed and they hold back the mounds of snow. They keep it from blowing originally, and they keep it from blowing back in once the roads have been cleared. So consequently, at the very least, they save money, taxpayers' dollars, and at the very most, they save lives. I'm adamant about it for that very reason. They wouldn't fit on my property. There are plenty of trees. I don't need them, and we are on the eastern side of the road, facing the west. I'd like to give you an example of what happened one year when it was decided that fences were not of that much use. Our fences were old and decrepit, we needed new ones. Well, to save the money, they didn't bother that year. And that year, there were so many drifts. We had bad storms. The roads were impossible. For instance, I know of one spot on Howell Road that took 3 days. And if you know anything about the northern part of the township, short little old Howell Road is a direct route for many people. The road was completely closed for 3 days. And on that third day, they brought out the biggest, the best, the heaviest equipment that we had. And it still did no good. They worked at it for days. Finally, we had to ask the county for help with their bigger equipment. And that was a charge to the taxpayers. It cost us money to bring the county out. It cost us money in overtime. It cost us many thousands of dollars of damage done to township equipment. And in the end, we had to compensate a property owner for damage done to their personal property in the process of opening the road. And that's the reason that I nag about getting up snow fences. That's right, I nag about snow fences. And I hope all of you out there who either don't know about snow fences or like to lie, have learned a lesson this evening about snow fences. And by the way, how are our snow fences? Are they up yet?
I think they're in the process right now, actually. DPW told me the other day they were working on them.
Let them continue to work on them until they're done, before we have one of those all of a sudden snows.
We have no reason to change.
You're still
Thank
gonna
you.
put them on my property, right?
All the way around, keep the deer out.
Just check and make sure.
Thank you for listening.
Any further discussion? There being none, I'd like to open up the discussion for public hearing, public comment on the agenda items.
How are you guys doing tonight?
Good, how are you?
Charles Day, D-A-Y-E, Tri-Town News. I just wanted to know, 9/8/30, what's the need for a special counsel?
Well, what?
9/30, special counsel.
I think that's one of our lawsuits that they've been doing for a while. It's been a lawsuit that's been going on for a while, and now and then they linger. So when they do linger and more things happen, special counsel will come back and ask for additional funds from what we first allocated them. Not everything is done in-house.
All right, can you comment on what lawsuit that might be?
I do not know off the
Specifically?
top of my head. I mean, Marion Callahan and Blair have been special counsel, I know, for about 10 years. So they've handled different lawsuits. We have some different special counsels for different expertise. But that's all I can tell you. I don't know what this one is.
I believe this is specifically related to the Crystal Creek development over off of Colts Neck Road. Alexis, Louise, that development up there.
That's been going on over 20 years.
Over
Right.
20 years, yes.
That's been going on over 20 years.
Developer dispute due to poor construction.
I'll give you a little history on it. I'm gonna give you a little right now.
All right.
Developer went bankrupt in the early 90s, building a development over in Howell Township off of Colts Neck Road. And the township helped out a little bit. They were having big drainage problems. And the township decided to, at that time, decided to chip in and try to help remedy the problem. Well, a lawsuit ensued When I was first on the governing body, I'm gonna say about 12 years ago, there was a $3 million verdict, and the township was responsible for 10% of the money because we chose to help out. Now, not all the people in that area chose to be involved in the initial lawsuit. After the original people got awarded $3 million, other people joined in a different lawsuit. So it's been going on for a long time, and the only reason Howell Township was ever involved is because we had our DPW and engineering try to help the taxpayers of Howell in that situation. It's one reason I've been adamant through the years that if it's not our problem, we can't help out. Because if we do, we open up the residents of Howell Township to millions of dollars in lawsuits and litigation. So this lawsuit's been going on, the extension of it, since, I think like 95, 96 is
No,
when it
before that.
started. What?
Before that.
Well, it happened before that, but I think the lawsuit started in like 95. I think what happened started in like 92, 91, but the actual lawsuit, because it first got settled, I was on the governing body, when we had to agree to pay $300,000 of taxpayer money, because we got found 10% liable for trying to help out, and compensation was $3 million. And the taxpayers of Howell had to pay $300,000, and that's what the taxpayers got for trying to help citizens at that time.
Are you glad you asked?
Very, thank you.
Welcome to sometimes doing things we're not supposed to do. Yeah, they've been around a long time, Marion, Callahan, and Blair.
Mayor, there's no one on the list tonight.
I have a couple.
Oh.
Sorry.
Okay.
Good evening, Joan Osborne, 28 Bronia Street, Howell. I just have a couple questions. Earlier in the day when I looked at the resolutions, some of them just had the cover sheets and they didn't have the content. So I have questions about a couple of those, and also just to get an idea of what some of these others that are on the consent agenda. Number 9A.7, which is Resolution 17-374. If someone could speak to what the property tax rewards program is that is being envisioned.
It's something that's been around for a couple of years. We had spoken about it. We had to wait till certain things were done with our software and in our administration here in Howell. And we met with them with the Shop at Home tax reward program. Shop in Howell tax reward program. It's in a lot of other towns. It's gonna work a lot of different ways. Then certain businesses will pay for the cards. Certain businesses will sign up, and if people shop there or people go dine there, a percentage will come off their taxes paid by the business, not by the Howell taxpayers. We've inquired about it through the years. It's a program that's gonna take about 6 to 9 months to execute. And I think it'd be a good thing for the people of Howell. Me personally, I do a lot of my business, my personal business in Howell Township. I eat out a lot in Howell Township. I do a lot of things in Howell. The businesses, it's up to them whether they want to sign up and whether or not they want to give a credit towards taxes.
So the credit goes to the business or to the
No, the
consumer?
business will pay the credit towards people's individual taxes.
Okay.
Like say if a business, say if a restaurant chose to give 3% as a credit towards your taxes, and you go there and you spend $100, a $3 credit will come to the Howell Tax Office towards your township portion of your taxes.
Is there any cost to the township for participating in that kind of program?
Not at this time. The governing body will always make a decision on whether or not they'd like to. In some towns, they have chipped in. In other towns, they've not paid a penny It depends on how far you want to go with the program. It was suggested that we get 20,000 cards. If we get 20,000 cards, we're going to need 4 or 5 sponsors to be on those cards. That would pay $4,000 to $5,000 each for those cards. And some businesses have expressed interest in doing that. They would like to have people holding a card with their business name on it for $4,000 or $5,000. Some of the bigger businesses, just so you know, probably will not be involved. I've been told by other municipalities, places like Wawa, ShopRite, gas stations, unless they're privately owned, usually will not be involved in the business, okay? But a lot of local businesses will. So,
All right, thank you. The next question I had was on Resolution 17-375. It's regarding authorizing execution of agreement with New Jersey DEP and Green Acres. Is that a new project, or is that something that we already had before the council this year?
I'll take this one. No, this is the planning incentive grant we received earlier this year for $750,000 from the NJDEP. This is just the executing the agreement with them. However, that is not for a specific property. This is just to execute the agreement, and then the council will have to decide at a later date a piece of property they would like to try to obtain, and then we would do another resolution authorizing the acquisition of that property at a later date.
So has this had nothing to do with the Pierce Farm grant?
That is the Pierce Farm grant.
Okay. Resolution 17-392, I think that was one that was missing. That's for the appointment of the township attorney. Is Mr. Clark going to be a township employee, or is he a vendor?
Employed.
Employee? Okay, welcome aboard. And Resolution 17-403, authorize the award of contract to the Monmouth Conservation Foundation. If someone could speak to what is envisioned there.
Would you like me to do that?
Absolutely, Councilwoman.
As Mr. Herman mentioned before, you know, we have the grant, the Green Acres grant. We just don't have a site yet. Well, the contract is for help with dealing with that, locating an appropriate site, negotiating its purchase, and also with farmland preservation. They're great aid. We don't have the employees to do it. We don't have the volunteers to do it, and we have used them in the past, and every time it's been very successful. As a matter of fact, they end up doing better, negotiating for a good price at our benefit than we do ourselves.
Will they be working with any of the committees or commissions on identifying properties?
you got to speak into the mic.
They
so
can.
doesn't pick you up.
They won't, I'm not saying yes or no, but they can, they have in the past.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? There being no one else, I'd like to close this portion of the meeting. If you'd like to call out the separate item, I can't.
I don't know what was pulled out, 982, 983, 9824.
It was 9A35.
And 9835.
You wanted 9A35.
Everything has been removed from your consent agenda that's listed here. No need to remove it by motion, because it's already been done. So the only thing you've asked me to do is a separate vote on Resolution 9A35.
Correct.
The road opening
So
moratorium.
just to make a motion for approving the remaining.
Okay.
Right, approve the consent, correct.
Approve the consent except for 9835, I'd like a separate vote, and 9B, well, 9B 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Okay,
Second.
2 and 3 were removed from the agenda.
2 and 3, so what, 9B1 and 9B4.
That's correct.
Second.
Okay.
Roll call, Mrs. O'Donnell?
Yes.
Mrs. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mayor Berger?
Yes.
Make a motion that we deny 9B35.
Second.
Roll call, Mrs. O'Donnell?
Yes.
Mrs. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mayor Berger?
Yes.
We have the public hearings next.
Right, introduction of ordinances is next on our agenda. We have 2.
Is there any discussion, do we do the introduction first, and then the discussion? Discussion
No
first?
public hearing.
You do the discussion, if there is
Is there any
discussion.
discussion for the ordinances being introduced this evening?
I have nothing.
I have nothing.
Just, I know we spoke a little bit about, are we okay with this, Brian?
Which one?
With-
Yes.
With 11-1 being as what we spoke about, are we okay? Is there
Yes,
anything
this
we
is
need to
just
put
this-
off, anything we need to change?
No, this is just the salary portion of that contract agreement, which was based on the mediator's recommendations. I
Okay.
believe-
So this is just the salary portion, the other stuff will,
That's correct.
okay. Make a motion to introduce ordinance number 0-17-32 on first reading by title and order the same to be published in 11/25/17 issue, the Asbury Park Press, with notice of its introduction and passing on first reading by title. That'll be further considered for final passage. The public hearing in a meeting of the Township Council will be held on 12/19/17 at 7:30 PM, prevailing time municipal building.
Second.
Title of ordinance, an ordinance setting forth and amending and supplementing the salary range schedule for the salaries of certain officers and employees of the Township of Howell. Roll call, Mrs. O'Donnell?
Yes.
Mrs. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mayor Berger?
Yes. Next ordinance. 11.2.
Ordinance 1733. Motion to introduce ordinance 1733 on first reading by title and to order the same to be published in the November 25th, 2017 issue of the Asbury Park Press, together with the notice of its introduction and passage on first reading by title, and that will be further considered for final passage after public hearing at a meeting of the Township Council to be held on December 19th, 2017, at 7:30 PM prevailing time in the municipal building.
Second.
Title of ordinance, an ordinance setting forth and amending and supplementing the salary range schedule for the salaries of certain officers and employees of the Township of Howell. Roll call, Mrs. O'Donnell?
Yes.
Mrs. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mayor Berger?
Yes. Is there any unfinished business?
Just wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving.
I would like to bring up something about the conservation that Councilwoman Smith was talking about. You know, a lot of people, you know, they say, you know, whatever you do, don't raise my taxes. And I hear them and I listen to them, but I just want to say, when it comes to preserving land in Monmouth County, it passed again to raise the taxes of every individual who owns a home to preserve more land. It is one of the, I think, hallmarks in this county, that people want to see more and more farms, more and more parks, more and more beaches. It's part of why I think we live in one of the best places to live in the United States of America. So it was put to vote, and I think it was like a 62 to 38%, which is pretty overwhelming when it comes to votes. So people do want more and more money being put towards preserving land. So I think it's a very good thing. And I'd like to see some of the things we've spoken about in the last couple of months with coast-to-coast trail and things of that nature to be looked at more closely You know, if there's money available, let's do it. I think that's a pretty loud statement by everyday citizens when they walk into a voting booth and they elect somebody or they make a vote to do something 62 to 38. You know, that's almost 2 to 1. So I'm all for, I've spoken to Councilwoman Smith through the years, and I know it's one of the things that she's really been focused on is the environment and preserving farms and preserving land, and I fully support her in that, and I'm looking forward to keeping Howell as green as we possibly can. So, everybody have a nice Thanksgiving.
Mayor, if I might, just quickly, I'd like to commend the VFW for the program they put on at the Old Town Hall on Veterans Day. It was very moving. Wish there was a larger turnout, but I will say that the people that were there, I think, were extraordinarily moved by some of the comments that were made. Then I went to Farmingdale Borough, where the Boy Scouts did a wonderful program on the flag, and again, honoring the veterans. So it's really nice to see the young people trying to understand what the word veteran means. It's not just grandpa. You know, it's about our country, it's about our freedom. And it was very nice, and I hope next year we see everybody at our Veterans Day program, which we hold every year at the Old Town Hall on Veterans Day. Thank you.
For information, the municipal offices will be closed Thursday, November 23rd, and Friday, November 24th, in observance for Thanksgiving. The Christmas tree menorah lighting ceremony is on Tuesday, December 5th, at the municipal building here at 6 to 8:30 p.m. Our next meeting date is December 19th at executive session at 6:30.
We'll have our hearing on that ABC expansion license, and that will start at 5:30 on Tuesday, December 19th.
So the hearing will be at 5:30, executive at 6:30, and the general meeting at 7:30.
Correct.
I would also like to say I wish everybody a happy and a healthy Thanksgiving, and we look forward to seeing you all in December.
It'll come before you know it.
This is true. It is 8:15, and I'd like to call this meeting adjourned.
Motion to
Motion to
adjourn.
adjourn.
Second.
Roll call, Mrs. O'Donnell?
Yes.
Mrs. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Walsh?
Yes.
Mayor Berger?
Yes. Now it's over.